Hello friends, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing books, but before we start, I'll first introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, my name's Melissa, and you found yourself on Melissa's Cozy Corner, where we talk about books, baking, and all the other fun cozy stuff. And just like myself, I'm sure you're starting to get into that weird middle stage between spooky Halloween, fall-y season where it's fun and beautiful, and now the leaves have fallen. Some leaves are still there, but it's pretty bare. It's getting really dark really early, and by the time we get home from work, it's already dark outside. We're starting to feel that gloomier atmosphere. Sometimes it's absolutely beautiful and it's wonderful, but sometimes it can be a bit harder because we're not spending as much time outside and enjoying that beautiful weather we get during, say, spring, summer, and sometimes fall. But winter does have its amazing moments as well, like on those beautiful days, but also it has those wonderful cozy moments as well. And that's why I wanted to talk about books today. But we're going to be talking about books that are perfect for end of fall, beginning of winter, where it could be cozy, comfy, beautiful stories, or more of the murder mystery, curl up with a blanket and wonder what's gonna happen, or maybe mind-boggling, weird, atmospheric books. So we're gonna kind of talk about a couple different atmospheres, a couple different things today to see if we can find a book that's gonna be perfect for you during this type of season. For me, I love all types of books during this season. I can go cozy, murder mystery, or I can go ahead and grab myself a mind-boggling, atmospheric, weird, odd book. But before I start reading, I love to grab myself a cup of tea. I've already finished my tea, but I normally always have like a cute little mug. This one's my mushroom mug. If you didn't see it in one of my earlier videos, this normally has a mushroom top on it. I put it away already because my tea was gone, but a cute little mug is always perfect for before you start reading, just to add a little bit of warmthness. I go ahead and add beautiful lights behind me as well, or atmospheric lights. These are generally Christmas lights or holiday lights, but I find them perfect for this middle in-between season because it's already dark outside. I don't want my super bright ceiling lamp on. I want to be cozy, warm, and comfortable, so I love adding these like dangly long lights behind my bed or behind my sofa to add a nice warm coziness. And of course, I got my blankets. Always my blankets. I have a ton of them. I have, I think, 5 in my living room because you never know what kind of feeling you need. A warm, heavy blanket or a soft, light blanket. And I recently just got myself a new pair of slippers because I am not a sock person, but my toes get really cold. So I grabbed myself a new pair of slippers to kind of walk around in when I have to go get a new cup of tea or maybe a cookie because I'm craving some cookies. So before I start reading during this time of year, I love to set an atmosphere for myself to kind of make it a little bit warmer, a little bit more welcoming, if that makes sense. This season can be really hard for a lot of people, and it's no surprise. It's dark outside over half of our day. It's gloomy, it's rainy. There's not much opportunity to go out and play. If you're a rain person like I am, of course you can go out and play in the rain, but it's also, you want to still be warm and cozy and make sure you're taking care of yourself. So during this time of season, I also highly recommend just reaching out to some friends, maybe having them over for a cup of tea, or maybe what we call coffee and kuchen, so coffee and cake, and just having some friends over just for a little tea party, or going over to your friend's house and having a little tea party there, or just maybe grabbing a book and reading with your friends somewhere in like a coffee shop. I also love going into a coffee shop by myself and grabbing myself a kind of a fancy coffee, something to spice up my mood, or as like a little present to myself, and just reading a really good book. So during this time of season, make sure you're taking care of yourself, checking in with your friends as well to make sure they're doing well. And then if you ever want to kind of chat or have somebody to chat with, you can always find me in the comments below or on my Instagram as well. I'm always happy to chat with anybody and get to know you guys because You have brought so much happiness to my life. I would love to bring happiness to yours as well. So with all of that said, I know that was a long intro. I just wanted to send some love and care your way and let you know I'm here for you guys if you need anything, but also here to share some book recommendations for you as well to kind of get you through these days where we're stuck inside and we need something to do, but we don't want to watch TV anymore, we don't want to play any games, and we don't have any more crafting activities or baking activities under our belt, so we need to grab a book. So these are some books I highly recommend during this time of year. Some of them I've already recommended before, but they have sequels either out or coming out that I think you should definitely read because it'll add to the atmosphere. Also, because we're in the midst of the transition between two seasons, and I've already done my Thanksgiving, I'm still rocking the little Halloween earrings, but I've also decided for just this video, I don't normally do this in public, rocking my new little Christmas earrings as well. So I'm between seasons. This is my in-between season video of books. So let's go ahead and jump right in, get you some book recommendations, and see if you guys find any things that you like. So we're gonna go ahead and start with cozy though, because I think cozy is always a good one to start with. Everybody's always looking for a cozy book to read, and I have a couple good ones on my list. I have my blanket. I didn't put my slippers on because my feet are on the sofa, but I have my books. One I will constantly always recommend is Legends and Lattes. I think this is the coziest book you could ever sit down and read. It is fantasy, but I wasn't a fantasy reader before picking this one up. This was actually kind of my intro into fantasy novels, and this was just, if you're not a fantasy reader, it works for you. If you're not a supernatural reader, it works for you. If you don't like long books, it works for you. If you're looking for something wonderful to read, it works for you. I think this book could be read by anybody and you would love it. I think it's just it's like a cup of coffee, a hot cup of coffee, or if you're a tea drinker, a cup of tea, in a cup on the sofa with a warm blanket, and that's what this book is. It's really wonderful. But I'm not here to recommend this one, even though I slightly just did. I'm recommending the sequel, which is Bookshop and Bone Dust. I actually have not read it, so I can't technically recommend it. But if it is as good as Legends and Lattes, then I'm sure it's going to be a cozy little heartwarming cup of coffee or tea. So that's my next book I'm actually going to be picking up at the bookstore. I've already decided because it's not available online here in Germany, so I got to go to the bookstore to find it. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. I know I technically can't recommend it, but I am anyways, because Travis Baldree, even though this is their first book, I know I'm gonna love it, so I hope you're gonna love it too. And if you've already read it, let me know what you think. Another book I'm going to recommend is Kiki's Delivery Service. This is just a cute little short book. It's really easy to read. It's about a young witch who is off on her journey of becoming a witch or learning more about her witch life. I'm sure you've heard of the movie Kiki's Delivery Service that was done by Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli. I don't know how to pronounce that one. I've heard it pronounced either ways. I say Studio Ghibli, so I'm gonna stick with it. But Studio Ghibli did a movie version of this book, and it's just as cute. So if you want to watch the movie, I highly recommend that. But if you want to read the book, I think this is a great little short book for a rainy day, and it's cozy and comfy and wonderful. I'm also going to recommend Howl's Moving Castle because I loved that book. It's more, I think, towards the fall side of the year, but you can really read it anytime. And it's also just a wonderful, cozy, fantastical, whimsical atmosphere. So, Kiki's Delivery Service, a wonderful day read that is perfect for a rainy day. And then Neil Gaiman has done quite a few adult fantasy novels, adult books, and also Coraline, which I've recommended Coraline before, but Coraline I think is a wonderful, dark, scary one, and we're talking about cozy stuff. And so I actually think Stardust is a perfect book for this time of season. It's not 100% cozy, but it's definitely adding that atmosphere of just like mystery and fun and excitement And I think it also fits with that kind of atmosphere of cozying up on the sofa with a blanket and just enjoying this beautifully written and whimsical land of Stardust. So I think this is a perfect one for this kind of in-between season and great for a cozy read. Now, I think what fits really well during the season is your classic whodunit, your classic mystery, and it's just because like you're sitting down and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna solve a murder. And I don't know why. I don't know why the season works so well with murder mysteries, but it does. And so I've picked up a couple that I think connect to kind of murder mysteries, but also the whodunit atmosphere. I mean, I have an Agatha Christie one in here because you gotta have an Agatha Christie during the season. But I also added like a couple of the dark horror type books in here as well. But let's go ahead and talk about Agatha Christie first. I don't have the original book of this book, so it's going to be a movie soon, and that's why this one's called A Haunting in Venice. But the original book is called Halloween Party, and I thought this was a delightful read. It's a nice little whodunit. I was surprised by the end. I found it very interesting and intriguing. I loved the first half of this book. I thought it was really well put together. I kind of fell out of interest in the middle of it, but that's because I hit one chapter that I just thought was kind of boring. But I think this is just a really great read, a really great mystery, and definitely one I wasn't expecting. It is also quite short, so it's kind of a fun little read that you can do over the weekend, and a fun little mystery that maybe you can solve. I personally wasn't able to solve all of it. I solved a piece of it, and that seems to be my thing with Agatha Christie. I always solve a piece of it, and I'm going to admit I think I like Perrault as the detective more than Miss Marple. I think I'm a Perrault fan more. But Agatha Christie, you can pick up any of the novels, even like the classics like Murder on Orient Express. I think if you pick up a fun little whodunit book from Agatha Christie, it's a perfect weekend read on a rainy day with a hot cup of cocoa maybe. So Agatha Christie, highly recommend. And I'll keep recommending Agatha Christie. The more I read of Agatha Christie's books, the more I'm going to recommend them. That's just kind of how it works. I'm so sorry. And then there's a couple actually I have not read in this list, but I've gotten them recommended to me. One of them is called My Sister the Serial Killer. My sister recommended this book to me, and I thought it sounded absolutely delightful. I think it's a really interesting a mystery novel, of course, but the fact that my sister recommended this to me, and she knows I love murder mysteries and I like listening to murder podcasts, so I thought it was very fitting. Don't worry, I'm not a murderer. But also, the first line was really interesting, or the first descriptive line on the back of the book. It's Coretta's? I'm terrible with names in books. Coretta's sister, Ayoola, is many things. The favorite child, the beautiful one, possibly psychopath, and now Ayola's third boyfriend in a row is dead, stabbed through the heart with Ayola's knife. So, that's all I'm gonna read. And now you know why I want to read it. So I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be a fun little read. It's going to be definitely exciting, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with my sister who recommended this book to me. And then Plant-Based Bride just recently released a video, and it was on Devil House, and she said she quite enjoyed this book. I picked it up actually randomly at Pal's bookstore when I was in Portland a couple weeks ago, and I picked it up mostly because the cover I thought looked really retro and fun. But this book's actually not too old. I think it was just released a couple years ago. Oh, it was released last year. So this is quite a new book, and I thought it sounded quite interesting in the sense of what Plant-Based Bride said about it. She found the book quite intriguing and fun to read. There were parts of the book that she didn't believe really needed to be in there, but I'm quite excited to hear what this book is about, and also if I have kind of the same opinion as Plant-Based Bride. It's about a famous murder mystery novelist or writer, and he gets the chance to move into a house where there's been murders happening, or have happened. They're not currently happening, or are they? So it's a murder mystery through the lens of somebody who writes murder mysteries. So it's kind of, I don't know, that sounds really dumb, but the fact that it's a book about another writer is it's just really funny to me. So I'm curious if I'm gonna like it. And it's quite a thick book. So I think this one might take me a little bit more time, but I think it'll be great for when I have a very long weekend and have nothing else to do and it's wet and cold outside and all I want to do is drink tea and read. So that's my drink tea long weekend book. And the one I'm currently reading that I am having such a blast reading is Dracula. And I know this isn't a murder mystery. We know who did the murders, but I have had this book recommended to me and I got this for my birthday. It's a beautiful edition. I really love it. But I'm only about 100 pages into it and it's not what I expected. I've seen multiple Dracula movies, but I've seen them so long ago I can't tell you exactly what happens. I know like the main gist of Dracula. Most people do. But I'm really enjoying this. It's written in the ideas of letters or kind of diary entries. So we get different diary entries from different characters. We also get the letters of characters writing to each other and then their story through that lens. And it's been very enjoyable so far. I'm quite invested and I'm really looking forward to how the rest of this book goes. So I highly recommend reading Dracula and sitting down with a cozy, atmospheric Dracula day. Between fall and winter is the perfect time to read this book, especially when it's like stormy outside, lots of wind, thunder and lightning, and a candle in the background where you just have your nose in your Dracula book and you're getting invested in all the characters. So, Dracula, a book I've been enjoying and I hope you guys would enjoy as well. And again, there's a narrator, a British narrator, I don't know their name, that has read Dracula and they're on Audible, and my sister swears by that narrator and thinks it's the best way to listen to Dracula. So if you don't want to read Dracula but would rather listen to it, then I highly recommend doing that on Audible and listening to the British narrator. And I'm sure you could Google it and figure out who it is. I just don't know off the top of my head, I'm sorry. So, now we're going to move to the more atmospheric books that don't fit in my categories of cozy or murder mystery whodunits. This is the other category. These are books that I would say make me think or kind of put like a weird atmosphere around me. So it's not necessarily the book or the atmosphere I'm currently in, but when I'm reading this book, I have these books, not this book, these books, they create an atmosphere around me where I can really visualize everything that's happening. I would say these are visually appealing books and just definitely atmospheric books. And they also just don't fit in cozy and whodunit murder mysteries. So the one I'm gonna start with is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I just finished this and I loved it. I thought it was so I can't put my words together when I'm describing this book because there's no way of telling you about it without giving anything away. And so it is kind of a whodunit, but I would also say it's like the origin story of all of those scary houses in the neighborhood where the witch lives inside it and you're not allowed to approach the house because the witch is going to curse you. And this book is the origin story of all of those witches and all of those houses. And it's so well written. It's so poetic in certain aspects and you're constantly wondering what exactly is happening and if you can trust the narrator and if you can trust the other characters, and if you can trust just the story in general. So I really loved it. I thought it was really great. I think it's also wonderful. My partner recommended this book to me, and we both came out with a different opinion. We both came out with a different idea of how the story actually ended, and if we could have trusted the narrator or not. And we pulled from our our own personal lives, and that affected our opinion of the story itself. And if you're interested in hearing my full opinion, spoilers and everything about this book, let me know. I'd love to go more into it with some of you. But for now, I would just say it's really lovely and also creepy and uncomfortable. So that's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Yeah. And then, of course, I'm going to recommend Bunny. I've talked about Bunny multiple times by Mona Awad. I just highly recommend this book. I think it's weird, atmospheric, confusing, demented, and just weird. It's just weird. That's the best word I can come up with when I'm describing Bunny. And you're going to read it and you're going to think, what in the world did I just read? But I'm not here to talk about Bunny. Well, I am a little bit. I'm still recommending Bunny. But the one I'm going to be recommending is Rouge, Mona Awad's new book that just came out. I have not read this, but I have heard so many wonderful things about this book. It's also from Plant-Based Bride. And I'm highly recommending this book because of how Bunny was written. So I'm kind of recommending Bunny, but I'm also recommending Rouge. And if you want to read it with me, let me know. I'm going to be picking this one up probably after I finish Dracula, because it's the perfect time to read a book like this where it's atmospheric and dark, and it's taking a different path than Bunny did. Bunny was very psychotic. I would say psychotic. And this one is, you're connected to the characters more. And I think that's why it's so different, is because you have one book that's very atmospheric, story-driven, and just kind of weird. And this one is directly connected to a story that we're following from a character. So I'm looking forward to reading a very different type of Mona Awad story. And I've heard so many great things about this one. So I'm really looking forward to this. And if you want to read it with me, let me know in the comments below, and we can always chat about it in like secret so we don't spoil it for anybody else. And the last one I also just picked up is When Women Were Dragons. I've just read a couple chapters in this, and I'm recommending it because the first chapter in this book was just so horrendous in the sense of the story it was pulling from. It was beautifully written. I love how this is written so far. I bought it because I decided to read the first couple pages to see if I was interested in the story. And I was so invested in the story that I just sat in the bookstore and just kept reading it until I was about 4 chapters into it. And I thought, I probably should just go buy the book. I thought the first chapter was just horrendous in the story it was telling. And then we get to know our character that we're following, and the character we're following, Alex, is just, it's interesting to see it through her eyes. And there's a part of me that's wondering if what's happening in this book is really happening or if it's not. I don't know yet. And that's one of the reasons why it's more fantastical and uncomfortable, because it's talking about uncomfortable subjects, but it's also whimsical and just very intriguing. And I'm telling you that the writing style in this book was just so beautifully written and so interesting. And I know you're not supposed to use the word interesting, because interesting is used for every single book, but I'm sorry, that's one of the things that could pop into my head. And I've learned there's 2 types of interesting. Bad interesting, what, this is interesting, where it's not really interesting and you just don't like it and you don't want to be mean. And there's interesting where it's like, I don't know how to put my thoughts into words technically. I'm practicing, but I'm gonna say it's interesting because I can't think of the words to put in it. So that's what I'm saying, interesting. But this is just captivating and lovely. And I'm really curious as to where it's gonna go. The first little section of the book, or the back of the book, I can read that to you. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But the first little section is, in a world where girls and women are taught to be quiet, the dragons inside them are about to be set free, and nothing will ever be the same again. And I'm trying to figure out if that's real or not, and I'm a couple chapters in. So that's why I'm saying this is more atmospheric, weird, and fits more in my other category. And I'm looking forward to finishing this one. I like I said, I read a couple chapters in the bookstore, and I haven't continued yet, but I'm recommending this one just based on the first 4 chapters. So that's all my books. That's all my books I'm going to recommend at this moment. I hope you found at least one that you're going to enjoy this in between fall, winter season where it's getting a little bit darker outside. I hope you find yourself a cozy little spot to pick up a wonderful read, whether that be cozy, murder mystery, or atmospherically funky and weird. And I would love to hear your recommendations down in the comments below. I'm always looking for new books to read and new kind of everything. I'm looking for anything that is just going to captivate my brain during this time of year where I am wanting to just veg out on the sofa for hours at a time, not thinking about anything other than the story I'm reading. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up because that's one way to show me some love and support. You can also subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Like I said, I make baking videos, but also books and cozy content. Sometimes I mix all 3 into one just to make it fun and crazy and fun. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate all the love and support you guys have given me over and over again, and I have been loving hearing from you guys as well. But I'll leave you there because this video is long enough, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And I hope you have a fantastic day, a wonderful middle of November, because we're already in the middle of November. And if you guys have any questions about Thanksgiving, you can go ahead and watch my video about Thanksgiving here. I went ahead and just put together a cozy, how I celebrate and put together my Thanksgiving party. And yeah, so until next time, you guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, a wonderful middle of November again. And I'll talk to you guys very soon. Ciao!